It snowed last night, God. Thanks for that. It's pretty and covers everything like a big white sheet. It covered anything that was left from our homeless camp where me and some others had been camping. They took everything away yesterday, and the snow made everything look like we were never there. But we were there. I was there. I hope someone remembers. It snowed last night, God. Thanks for that. For just a little while, the snow made the world look pretty, almost beautiful. It covered up some of the ugliness we have to live with every day. The ugliness is still there, but for just a little while, it's hidden. But it'll come back when the snow melts. It snowed last night, God. Thanks for that. The snow made everything get really quiet, sort of like that song about a silent night that people in church like to sing this time of the year. So quiet, I imagine I can hear the angels whispering to each other. Sometimes when I watch it snow, I imagine that the snowflakes are feathery angel tears. Do angels cry, God? And if they cry, do they cry for us who are cold with no place to go on snowy, silent nights like this? It snowed last night, God. Thanks for that. I think I'll enjoy the snow more when I can watch it fall looking out the window of my own place. I had my own place once. I didn't always live like this. But stuff happened, and, well, you know the rest, God. I hope you'll help me get my own place again, God. I want to watch it snow and hear the angels whisper to each other from my own place. Someday. It snowed last night, God. Thank you.
What you're seeing is the largest homeless camp of its kind in the state of Washington in late July of 2022 when this footage was filmed. Sitting on a single city block with 623 residents, the population of Camp Hope was greater than the population of Sprague, Washington with 511 residents, Reardon, Washington with 471, Edwall, Washington with 470, or Harrington, Washington with 433. Homeless camps aren't anyone's favorite alternative homeless service, but they do represent an integral part of the homeless community. They make for an engaging optic for local news outlets and for great social fodder for people who don't understand why they exist. How do they get started? Why is a homeless camp even necessary? Why don't these people just go to a shelter and access all of the services that might be available there? Homeless camps like this one on Washington State Department of Transportation property in Spokane embody a visual illustration of poverty in the heart of a middle-class urban landscape and offer a visual testimony to the failure of homeless policy over a period of years. Like the proverbial canary in the mine, Camp Hope signals a housing crisis that has pushed a growing number of people from housing to homelessness. It's a poorly kept secret that, in recent years, the Spokane community hasn't had enough shelter beds for its known and counted homeless population, and it's important to take a moment and review the numbers. In 2019, the annual point-in-time count found 1,309 individuals experiencing homelessness in our community. 315 of those were classified as unsheltered. According to the city's own internal shelter capacity report, the citywide shelter system showed 722 shelter beds, with an average of 29 open beds on any given night. How were 315 unsheltered individuals supposed to fit into 29 open beds? The next year, in 2020, the point-in-time count found the number of individuals experiencing homelessness had grown to 1,559, and the unsheltered count had risen from 315 to 541. An increase of 72%. But the citywide shelter system had increased bed capacity by only 11% to 805, and the nightly average number of open beds stood at 76. How were 541 unsheltered individuals supposed to fit into 76 beds? The 2022 point-in-time count found 1,757 individuals experiencing homelessness, an increase of 13%. 823 of those were unsheltered, an increase of 52% from 2020. As of February of 2022, the total number of shelter beds in the citywide system had fallen to 711, a decrease of 12% from 2020, with a nightly average of 123 open beds. Again, how are 823 unsheltered individuals supposed to fit into 123 beds? With the opening of a new low-barrier shelter on Trent, an additional 250 beds will be added to the citywide shelter system, bringing the total number of beds system-wide to 961. That's enough beds for only 55 out of 100 of the known and counted homeless. Where are the other 45 out of 100 supposed to go? The number of actual open and available shelter beds will rise to 373. But again, how are 823 unsheltered homeless, or the 623 residents of Camp Hope, supposed to fit into 373 beds? Spokane is suffering from both a bed problem and a math problem. The number of beds, existing or planned, simply doesn't add up to the need. Now you know the basic underlying reason for the existence of homeless camps, a glaring, ongoing lack of sufficient and appropriate shelter space. And that assumes the unsheltered homeless can even qualify for or maintain themselves in whatever shelter space is available. Many can't, adding additional reasons why the unsheltered homeless choose camps over shelters. To understand the attraction of a Camp Hope and its 623 residents, we have to understand the two most common denominators of homelessness: loss of community, such as family, friends, church, or any other support network, and deep personal trauma. A homeless camp like Camp Hope is the tangible embodiment of deeply traumatized individuals coming together to find community and a safe place to exist. Many are fighting hopelessness, seeing no clear exit ramp out. Some are fighting addiction and substance abuse, no secret there. Others have untreated mental health challenges. Some have jobs, others don't. Some simply can't. But all are dealing with personal trauma, and all are looking for meaningful community, even if that community is dysfunctional by any definition you and I might understand. Any plan to meaningfully address homelessness, whether under a bridge, in an alley, or in a massive homeless camp like Camp Hope, must address the deep personal trauma that brought people to this point in their lives and offer them a path forward to rebuild a meaningful sense of community. Failure to do so is planning to fail. Julie Garcia is the founder and executive director of Jules Helping Hands, one of the primary organizers of Camp Hope, and a strong advocate for homeless service alternatives to large congregate shelters. I asked Julie to talk with me about why homeless camps have become such a significant issue recently.
Well, first, the increase in homelessness has caused encampments to be the more used form of sleeping arrangements for people experiencing homelessness. Congregate shelters have always been our option throughout the United States, including Spokane, and the cat's pretty much out of the bag. People experiencing homelessness no longer want to be forced into congregate shelters. They don't work. They warehouse people, but they don't actually exit people out of homelessness. We don't have the services or service providers or housing stock to actually exit these folks out. And when we focus solely on congregate shelters, the problem that happens is there's no one-on-one care, because most of the day and the shelter provider is spent putting out one crisis after another, trying to get 100 to 300 people with severe trauma to coexist in the same building with minimal services and nothing to do. You are constantly putting out fires, trying to just keep them calm enough to stay together. And that's the problem with these big shelters is we warehouse, let's just go with an in-between number, 150 people in one building. And those services are minimal, so it's mats on the floor, there's not a lot of things to do and not an ideal space. So you're asking 150 people to behave, for lack of a better word, in one room, together with 150 of their closest friends or enemies. We don't talk to affected people. There's not affected people in the decision-making process for how we help homelessness. It's made by people who, one, probably have never experienced homelessness or experienced it 20 years ago when the circumstances had changed. The peer support, that's why peer support is important, but we don't have enough peer support going into congregate shelters to be able to exit people out of homelessness. We spend the days just maintaining.
The genesis of what would become Camp Hope can be found in homeless encampments throughout Spokane County, including this one along the Spokane River at a location known as Trent and Waterworks in the Spokane Valley. Local law enforcement is well aware of homeless camps like this one, maintaining and publishing a regular illegal camping status list. This one runs 19 pages. Law enforcement conducts occasional sweeps of such camps, forcing campers to move with no options but to set up a new camp in another location. Let's go back to December of last year, 2021. You heard that law enforcement was planning a big sweep of a large homeless encampment down the Spokane River, a place you and I know very well called Trent and Waterworks. How did that impact your thinking and what unfolded from there regarding Camp Hope?
Well, we've been caring for the folks at Trent and Waterworks for a long time. That encampment has been there for years. There's 50-ish people depending on the date or time of the year. But that encampment has truly been off of the radar of everything because they've been able to maintain that long. And they're causing minimal impact to the community around them. Therefore, that's the difference between the sweeps downtown and these larger encampments is if those larger encampments are not infringing upon the community, they're left alone for the most part. Downtown, the business owners don't want to see people experiencing homelessness, so they're always swept. So when we found out that Trent and Waterworks was getting ready to be raided, the police had literally told them that they were going to come in and move them and remove their things. There are no low barrier beds available for those folks to go. And our question became, where do they exist? They can't go downtown, they can't go to a park, they can't go to public land. Where's that space? And we asked the city, where would you like these folks to exist with no acknowledgement that there needed to be space? The only thing that was ever told to us is there's shelter beds available, which there aren't. I mean, there may be a handful on any given night spread between children, men, women, but none for that specific group of people. At that time in December, there were no women's beds available, and there were women out at this camp. Our only option was to do some kind of peaceful protest, so we started a peaceful protest on the steps of City Hall with just a few tents. I think on the first night there was around 60 people who were staying there.
Okay. So, you already heard what's supposed to happen today down here, right?
Right.
Okay. Friday we're going to do a Camp Hope in front of City Hall.
Okay.
I will be down here Friday to pick people up that want to go. We'll have all the tents, all the sleeping bags, all that stuff to support it.
Yeah.
We need you guys.
We're down.
Okay.
I am.
Oh.
Everyone's here.
He said he's down too. He said we'll let you know.
I mean, let's go do it right now.
Well,
Where are we supposed to go?
Exactly.
There's no women's shelters anywhere.
I know.
There's no beds anywhere.
Right.
Like,
We all seem to know that except for them.
oh, they know. They just don't give a fuck because they go home to their comfy little houses.
And that's what we're doing. We're going to be the change.
I hope so.
Like misplaced falling dominoes, a threatened law enforcement sweep of a homeless camp on the Spokane River led to a peaceful protest on the sidewalk in front of City Hall. A law enforcement sweep of the camp at City Hall turned that peaceful protest into a movement that caught the attention of a community and created the state's largest homeless camp on Washington State Department of Transportation property along I-90. Poorly thought out political decisions, combined with the failure of leaders to embrace the true size and nature of homelessness or to listen to the voices of those experiencing it, have had practical consequences. 623 of those consequences would reside at Camp Hope by the summer of 2022. It's 4 a.m. and go time for Camp Hope on the sidewalk in front of City Hall. In the early morning hours, a team from Jules Helping Hands meets to load up tents, sleeping bags, pallets, space heaters, and other essentials for setting up the camp. Organization and speed are essential. The plan for the camp isn't a secret, and the team doesn't know if a law enforcement welcoming committee may be waiting for them. Once everything is loaded and ready to go, the team takes a quick break for rest and prayer before heading out.
It's gonna be good, Maurice.
So what's on your mind this morning about this whole thing?
The neighbor came out.
Hope it works.
Oh, it's going to.
That's all. Hope
It
it
has
works.
to. This is for our friends. It has to work. Grace, you can come and pray. Heavenly Father, Lord Jesus, thank you, dear Lord. Thank you for the guidance, the strength, the endurance, dear Lord, and thank you most of all for the community, dear Lord. Thank you for bringing us together, dear Lord, for such a just and rightful cause, dear Lord. We pray, dear Lord, that you just guide us, protect us, and strengthen us, dear Lord, as we carry out your work, dear Lord, with love and compassion, dear Lord, and that the community of Spokane, dear Lord, that the city of Spokane municipal government, dear Lord, can see the love and compassion pouring out through the community, dear Lord, and through what we're doing with you and for you, dear Lord. We pray for our friends, dear Lord, out there freezing and suffering, dear Lord, in this cold, dear Lord. We pray for a building, dear Lord, that everybody can come inside and get warm, dear Lord, where people can feel safe, dear Lord, and protected, dear Lord, from the elements. Dear Lord, we pray, dear Lord, that the police department of Spokane, dear Lord, sees what we're doing, dear Lord, and joins us, dear Lord, and that they understand, dear Lord, and can show compassion. We love you and we pray for you. And all glory and praise goes to you, dear Lord. Amen. Amen.
The downtown streets are quiet, with no welcoming committee in sight when the team arrives and begins setting up. Pallets are laid out to keep as many tents as possible off the cold concrete. There are sleeping bags for each tent. A central canopy will eventually be set up to serve as a hub with space heaters, food, water, and other supplies. With the basic camp set up before City Hall employees arrive for work, a day of nonstop activity quickly picks up pace. Why are you here today?
The right thing
We're
to
here.
do.
It's the right thing to do. We want to help serve the unhoused.
What's
We wanna do
happening
right.
in Spokane is unacceptable, and we're not going to stand for it in our city where we're living. And these are our friends too, and they deserve as much rights as everyone else. So that's why we're here.
They deserve the basic needs that everyone should have.
They deserve a place to sleep, food, and healthcare.
Yep.
And healthcare.
And this is the least we can do.
Yeah, this is the least we can do.
Yep.
So we're so thankful that Julie on Jules Helping Hands exists,
Yeah.
that cares about them, and we're so glad we get to help her out.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. It's all through Julie. Thank you.
See what we can offer for support.
We can use food support.
Okay.
That's where I think we are. This is our tents that we have going on. We spoke with the police today. They aren't going to move us as long as we leave this path for wheelchairs.
Okay.
They said even though there's a no camping with the protests, we're not breaking any laws, but we need to be careful of the food.
Yeah.
So if anybody wants to donate anything, food is going to be the number one thing. It's supposed to be ugly this weekend.
Yes.
So food and tarps. Because our city's failure to enact any kind of low barrier beds for the people experiencing homelessness in our city.
So, who's staying here today?
people experiencing homelessness, Jules Helping Hands, community members, service providers, everyone who supports the idea of low barrier beds.
Why'd you pick today?
Well, about 3 days ago, the police were set to move a camp of 50 people. Clearly, we have no beds for those 50 people, and it looks as though there's nothing planned in the city for them moving forward. They didn't move that camp, but it's a constant threat to them. Is their livelihood? That camp's been there for maybe a year, and there's 0% housing in our city. So we're not housing them fast enough, but they're participating in services. So they're doing everything they could possibly do, and they still have no safe place to just exist. And that's all we're asking of the city, is for them a safe place for them to exist. Can there be a place that it is safe to be houseless without being criminalized? Whatever that looks like. There's so many different kinds of solutions. This isn't the only one, but we need solutions.
So how long do you hope to stay here?
We'll stay here until there's somewhere for these folks to go, or until they move us.
Does that include outside someplace, a field, wherever?
Anywhere they would give them a safe space to exist. At this point, these folks are exhausted. They've went through the summer with no added low barrier beds. They've been through 2 years of a global pandemic and no added beds. We've actually lost beds to them. It's been a long 2 years for them, and they just need somewhere to not die this winter. And Jules is willing and ready to help them. If they have to be out here, so will we.
So remind me, is your organization opening a shelter this winter? Are you operating something right now?
We are not operating anything right now. We're completely community funded. So if the city would like, we will, if they would supply the land, we will take care of these folks for the next 6 months with no city money, just the community.
Anything I didn't ask you about that you wanted to make sure I knew before I let you go?
You can see our sign up here, so you know this is a peaceful protest. I know people think that it's a war for us. It's literally just keeping these folks alive. That's all we do, is help people survive homelessness, and the only way for them to survive homelessness this winter is for them to have somewhere to exist.
If the police come in and say you have to go, what happens?
Well, we'll wait here until they make us move.
Thank you for making
No problem. Our friends don't have a voice. So we need to be their voice, and we need to be willing to go through whatever they're going to go through. So if they get arrested, we get arrested. This is all for one and one for all.
So how much area we got?
We got, as long as there's a path, we can go as far as we want.
So we can keep putting.
We can go all the way around here.
And we can go in there.
He said once the end of day closes today, we can cover that whole area.
The inspiration for the name Camp Hope came from something that happened back in the winter of 2018-2019. And you remember that pretty well.
Yeah.
Talk about how this relates to that.
So this relates to that because it's the exact same scenario that they went into in 2019 with Alfredo Yamada. He did the exact same thing, a peaceful protest on the steps of City Hall. The end result of that was the opening of warming centers. So that year, there were subsequently 3 warming centers open, depending on the time of the year between that, when they opened them in December through when they closed at the end of the year, varied on how many people were allowed. Because as they opened warming centers, they realized they needed more warming centers because people experiencing homelessness utilized that space. They were looking for beds to come into. And it took Alfredo chaining himself to City Hall.
I remember that.
And doing a fasting in protest to get anybody to pay attention to the lack of low barrier beds.
So, what's your name?
My name is Philip Brian Lewis. I go by Phil.
Okay. And Phil, how long have you been homeless?
Since 2011.
Why?
Pretty much I make too much money a month, like $20 a month for SNAP's assistance. And it's pretty frustrating, but I still manage to live on.
So why are you down here at Camp Hope 2.0?
Basically, I'm just passing the time of day and noticed that it was up.
Where were you staying before you came here?
Truth Ministries. That's where I stayed last night.
Okay. And why do you think it's important to be down here?
To support the homeless. Let them know that I care.
So, do you have any plans to be able to get off the street, or what's your plan moving forward?
Well, it's always been my hope to find my own place and just to be able to afford to do it financially on my own.
Yeah.
I try not to turn to the support groups a whole lot. I want to be able to do it successfully on my own.
So what do you need right now?
Just friendship.
Do you find a lot of that down here?
Yeah. Julie's been real nice to me. She invited me to sit here, and I found that pleasurable. And what was your name again, sir?
I'm Maurice.
Maurice. It's a pleasure to meet you, Maurice.
Good to meet you too, Phil.
Thank you for your time.
Then on or about December the 13th, I think the camp had been up and functioning for 5 days, something like that. The city started posting 48-hour notices on all of the tents and letting people know they had to leave. What was your first response when that happened?
So when I heard that this had happened, I was actually in the meeting with the Homeless Coalition and Eric Finch from the Department of CHHS, Community Health and Human Services. I was actually in the meeting with him when I got the call from the camp that code enforcement was out there putting 48-hour notices. After the 48-hour notices were posted, Jules Helping Hands met with the campers that were staying on the property at City Hall. And the campers decided that they were unwilling to allow the police to come in and take their things. They would like to move somewhere else to avoid that from happening. We're talking about December in the snow, and it was very cold. Losing their items is sentencing them to death. And Jules Helping Hands had no ability to replace all of those items for those folks. So we moved, and finding a spot to move to was very hard because homeless folks are not allowed to exist anywhere in our county safely. So we thought about taking folks to already existing camps. But how unfair is that to the folks who are trying to maintain by themselves in independent encampments? We would be bringing 140 people to an encampment that wasn't noticed by law enforcement yet. So we couldn't take them to encampments we already knew were there. We have been caring for the folks that were staying on that WashDOT property on 2nd and Ray for about 3 years. We called it the chicken coop because there was a man who lived there in a chicken coop, and it had just been referred to by outreach as the chicken coop area. So there were already people experiencing homelessness staying and existing on that property. The only thing we did was move those people. When we finally moved to the WashDOT property, it was only 68 individuals. That was the first night staying on that property. And now it's 501 individuals on that property.
Anybody going to the new spot who's ready to go? Please see this gentleman right here. You might get inundated. I don't know how many people you can take or what.
The move from City Hall to the WashDOT property known as the Chicken Coop began the morning of the 13th. Breaking the camp down and moving the residents to the new location took 2 more days. Residents had to decide what they wanted to do, and everything had to be packed and moved. Bill Seat was one of the camp residents who helped with the move to the WashDOT property. I followed Bill's homeless journey for more than a year through a couple of shelters, so I asked him for his thoughts on the day's events.
The positive about this is that Julie knows what she's doing. She doesn't leave anything really to chance. So, but there is the fact that PD nothing they do is of the norm. So the chances of this being us having to move within the next day and a half, pretty good. But she'll have something, something lined up. I've seen that where people on the streets and people in here in these fields have had PD come in and they've run them off. But they're scared. That's the difference. Here, we're not afraid. And I believe in what Julie's doing, so I believe that she has I'll tell your spot that this goes backwards. I mean, eventually they will come out. Eventually. We already know that. But it gives us some time. That's the main thing. Is time.
How are things going?
Things are going good. They're going good. I love seeing this. Everybody's cooperating. Everybody's pitching in.
What are they doing this morning?
Right now they're setting up two more shelters, extending the ones we have.
Those are the common areas?
Yes, that's the common areas there. It's where we got camp stove set up for heating up water. We got the bottled water in there. We have heaters in there, propane heaters in there, and chairs set up so people can go in there and get warm. It pretty much stays about 20 degrees warmer in there than it is out here. That's where all the food area is, so they can just have access to whatever kind of food that there is available, which is a lot, and a lot of different kinds.
Yeah, I saw a lot of food here yesterday. I don't know where it all came from, but
the community.
Yeah.
The community is stepping in, and they're bringing it down. They're making sure everybody's fed. It's a lot of different restaurants, a lot of different organizations that's doing it. So that's what's going on.
What's your name?
Tia Lawrence.
And what's your name?
I'm Jesse Lawrence.
So, how long have you been homeless?
7 months.
What started it?
We were living up on the South Hill, and our owner decided because of COVID, because he couldn't get back and forth to Germany, that he wanted to live in the house that he was renting out, which we've had a little bit of problems because we have 3 children who aren't obviously currently with us, but he didn't want them in the house because he said they were too loud, and didn't want a smoker because my husband smokes cigarettes.
Even though I was going outside.
Even though we were going outside. So anyways, there was just a big old problem. Well, he went to the court when the COVID first hit, and he said, I want to reside in this residence. I want to live here because I can no longer travel back to home. So I want to live in my house that I'm renovating. And he went to court, got it all documented, so we had to move out that next month. So we've been out in our car. We have a 2015 Dodge Caravan. We've been out in that since July. So, and our 3 babies right now are with my mom until we can find a place. So, other than that, we've been working on our mental health together. So that's another thing. I mean, we don't have poor rental history. We haven't lived in very many places, but because of my husband's criminal background, it's hard to find a place.
So tell me what you guys are doing.
We're actually expanding this because of the amount of people that need warmth. And, this is kind of our commons area. And as homelessness gets worse, we need to be able to help people. So I end up getting here through a large series of unfortunate events. And I'm a caregiver. and people still need help whether they're homeless or not. And there's a lot of people in wheelchairs, walkers, and I don't mind being homeless because right now I'm able to help a lot of people who wouldn't get help otherwise, because people just don't care about the homeless, don't care about the disabled, and it's wrong. It's abuse, and they need to stop doing this to us.
It was 2 days before Christmas when I saw this umbrella fighting to keep snow out of a tent, and I decided the person holding it was someone I should meet. His name is Preston, one of the early residents of Camp Hope.
So what started your homeless journey?
This one?
Yeah.
Thinking that I was actually getting into a home and then not being able to actually get into that home and leaving the home to get into the home. The confusion of it all just piled up and it didn't all fit together. So right now I'm in this spot, and it's a lot better than walking around with 5 bags on your shoulders. And every time you go to work, you have to bring your own house with you.
Have you tried any of the local shelters?
No. No, because I'm Native spiritual, and a majority of the shelters make you do like a religious thing. So.
Okay.
And I also have PTSD, and so it's kind of like fight or flight. So if somebody else is in the room and starts screaming and yelling, I start screaming and yelling, or I sneak out the back door and leave. And I don't want to ruin any resources that I have by just staying a night or two and then doing that. So I stay away. This is a lot better because it actually helps out other people see that homelessness is real. I'm homeless because of my mental illness mostly. I admit that, and I know it. But there's some people who are homeless for other reasons, and you'll never get rid of homelessness. Even if everybody gets a house, there's going to be still people out there who don't want to live in those houses.
If I had to choose one picture to summarize a nascent Camp Hope on this cold and snowy day, 2 days before Christmas in 2021, I think I'd choose this one. The tent belonged to a friend of mine, Cindy, whom I followed through 3 low-barrier shelters and now a homeless camp. I recognize the walker and the wagon. If you could look her up in the CMIS homeless tracking system, you'd find that she's had and lost housing more than once. Why? Because meaningfully addressing homelessness isn't simply about more shelter space or giving people housing. It's about working with them to address all of the other issues that have kept them on the street or in shelters or in homeless camps and prevented them from keeping the housing they worked long and hard to get. None of us foresaw that in the months ahead, 623 more Cindys would call this camp home.
Man, there's rolls right there. You got bowls there.
What? They're not handmade biscuits?
Okay, you don't need to eat. Next. I'll feed your dogs.
So tell me what life is like here in the camp right now.
What are we, about 2 months in? Seems like now that the police are telling everybody to come here, so I'm hoping that that's a good thing. That ODOT's with them, so if we get too many people, we're not going to get kicked out. So, but it stays quiet. We get a little bit of drama, but nothing much. There hasn't been any physical altercations, no drug paraphernalia, and people are pretty much cleaning up after themselves.
Tell me a little bit about the little governing council that you guys have set up.
That's still kind of like in the beginning stages, back when our forefathers started, I'm sure they had to work things out, and that's kind of how it's going here.
trying to figure out, you know, who's more going to be in control of everything, and then who's going to be in charge of what areas. And as far as me, I mean, I'm part of council as far as, you know, when we vote on things or just get together and talk to everybody. But my job is basically cleaning up the toilets.
You're a veteran, is that right?
Yeah.
So how long were you in the service?
I was in for 5 years. I got out in '91. So just 3 days before they bombed Iraq. So I was sitting on the couch watching that on the news. So, but yeah, it was great. I was a cook, so we did a lot of field exercises, you know, a lot of training. Every time they go out to the field, I always call it camping. You know, 'cause we got the tents and it just smells like diesel and everything.
So what happened resulting in you being homeless and in a homeless camp now?
I think a lot of it, I just gave up on myself. Just thinking that I could do any better. I figured it seems like anymore, the way my thinking goes, it's like this is the best I can do. But I'm not like really depressed or anything. It's just kind of like how the thinking's gone over the years. So it's just, I've been homeless probably about the last 5-6 years. Traveled around Oregon, Washington, Idaho, Texas, Tennessee.
Now I've seen some veterans workers from Goodwill and a couple other agencies here. Have you talked with them? Have they been able to help you any?
Yeah, I started talking to them when I first got into town, but then I just kind of got stuck into the camp life and just been hanging out here, kind of seeing where it goes. You know, I know there's a lot of resources out there to get housing and all that, but I'd really like to be able to just, you know, get a place on my own without help, you know, agencies. You know, it'd make me feel more like I accomplished something if I'm able to just afford my own place and keep it going and keep up with the bills. And to me, that's like a normal person. You know, just kind of living life day to day and just keep going.
When you've been filming documentaries among the homeless for several years, you're going to run across some familiar faces. That's what happened when I found Chancey Lee at Camp Hope.
All right, so you and I talked last summer down at Coeur d'Alene Park, and now here you are at the tent camp. What's been going on the past 6 months?
Well, about pretty much the same, one day at a time. Can't get no housing, been approved, got the money, but there ain't none out there.
So where were you staying before you came down here?
I move my truck every 2 days, just wherever I can find it's quiet. Yeah, I just move it every 2 days. Down around HOC, they want you to move every 24 hours.
Now you said you've got money for housing?
Yeah, Section 8. $920 a month. I got toward housing. I can't even find a efficiency apartment. They got them all over the place. It's just, when I first got here, she said, sure, you can sign up. You only got a 2.5 to 3 year wait. I thought she was just joking. She was not joking. I talked to a lot of people in the street. Oh yeah, that's about right. I mean, that's a long time to wait for one of those little apartments.
Sunshine on a winter day in mid-February can be deceptive. For the 100 or so homeless campers at Camp Hope, the next few days would bring snow and overnight temperatures down to 4 degrees. Not the kind of weather anyone would choose for camping in a tent.
So Danny, tell me what you guys are doing to prepare for the cold weather.
Filling up propane tanks, giving everybody hand warmers and gloves and jackets, socks. What else are we giving?
Are people worried about the weather and what's going to happen the next few days?
I think everybody's okay. I mean, we've done weather before, so we got the warmer tent here, and everybody usually comes together, pulls together in hard times to make it through. So I think we'll be all right.
During the difficult winter months of 2022, the number of people at Camp Hope stayed around 100. No one wants to camp outside in snow, ice, and frigid temperatures. But as the weather began to moderate into spring, and word about the camp as a safe place that wouldn't be swept by law enforcement began to spread, the numbers began to rise, with RVs, campers, tents, and people all showing up and looking for a safe place to exist.
Someone's card showed up.
Yeah, but we're counting tents and stuff right now.
So come see us up there, okay?
Okay, stop. Tell me what just happened.
So Chris got his Social Security, and he got a Social Security settlement. So we've been waiting for his card to get here so we can get him somewhere safe to stay outside of the city.
He has enough money on it
He has
to
enough
restart.
money to restart his life. It's not just hundreds of dollars, it's thousands of dollars. And he has enough money right now to get out of here. So we had to talk to him about being responsible, one, with the money, and two, not letting anybody know that he has it. There's a lot of predators, and predators like to use folks in his situation, and we just need him to use that money to get out of homelessness.
What's up, brother?
Is there somewhere, a facility where we could like wash clothes so we all can go?
We can give you a laundry card and you can go up to the laundromat.
Okay.
Okay.
Can we work on that?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. Is this somebody separate or are these all together?
All kind of together, they're different people.
But different people, right? I'm just trying to count how many tents we got. Right on.
These two are mine. This one is kind of open at the moment, but I'm sure someone could use it. So.
Right on.
That's a friend of mine. That one's mine. So.
Sounds good. Thank you. Okay, so we're at 172 tents. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm counting RVs now. 5, 6, 7. It just gives us an idea of how many people may be here. Hi, brother.
We're just dropping off pallets.
Oh, we appreciate you.
There's a woman that just came. She's in flip-flops, no shoes. She needs shoes. She needs blankets.
Where's she at?
We're going to go get her.
Okay, right on.
She doesn't have a tent, so we're bringing her a tent.
Okay.
And she doesn't have blankets or anything, so we're bringing
You
her
can
if
grab
she
blankets and shoes up at the center. I just don't think we have any tents up there.
wants. Yeah, I have a tent.
Yeah, at our, have you ever been up to our center?
No.
Here, write our
Write that
address down. It's 1819 East Springfield. It's literally half a mile from here. And you can get everything that they need there. And we let community members pick it up and bring it out, whatever. There's shoes, there's clothing. I'm just pretty sure we don't have a tent.
Yeah, we have a tent, and she wants to be baptized too.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna go deal with this guy, and I'll be back. Hey! I got it. Okay. Okay, okay, if you stop yelling.
Yeah, no shit. You need a leash for the dog.
Okay, you got a leash for that dog?
It's fucking,
Whose dog is it? Okay, it needs a leash, or I gotta call, I gotta call Scraps. You got a rope? Rope. I'll handle it. Leash, or he's got to go.
Okay, he's not leave our dogs. He keeps slipping his harness. That's what it is.
Okay, but we can't have him biting, folks. That's not acceptable.
They're poked. I don't know what's that.
Okay, so
Freaking out.
we need a collar and a leash for him. Yep, and let's get him on it, because if he's running around, we're going to have to call Scraps to come get him. So it's really just maintaining a little bit of order every day, coming in and letting them know that folks are here and that there's rules and that we go by them. I mean, they are outside and they are managing themselves, but what we do is just come through, tell them where we see areas of concern, break up issues that are going on. Like there's 390 some people here. Yesterday they said 401, that's the closer number, but they're all trying to maintain on one city block, so they need some kind of structure and knowing that somebody just hasn't left them here to die. So we just come through every day. We try to do what we can for them to help them learn how to manage all by themselves. And we allow the security and the teams to do their job. That's not our job, it's theirs. So we just try to empower them to have a voice to do that. So what we've got to be able to do is, Danny has a sign-in sheet. He's going to have people come and sign initials and say, yep, I went through all of them and I pulled out the crap. The clothing, anything that's not waste or toilet paper just needs to come out. Because if we can build a really good relationship with American Onsite, who's trying to help us, we can get some more porta potties and keep this camp going.
Yeah.
But the health department will not budge on this part of it.
I noticed there are currently, I believe, 12 porta potties.
There are 12. There's supposed to be 16, and we deal with what we can get. It started with 6. A lady named Barb Brock, a supporter of Jules Helping Hands, gave us 6 porta potties for a month. We didn't know how long this encampment was going to last, or if it was. We had no idea on what was going to happen. There was no plan ahead of time. So the 6 porta potties got there, and the camp began to grow, and we couldn't keep up with the 6 porta potties. Our porta potty company was going to pull out because they literally had to come out every day and dump them. We asked the city. We spent a couple months begging the city to give us porta potties to put out there. At least it keeps the public health and safety under control. And they refused. So Empire Health decided to help us out and pay for some more porta potties to come out. And we worked out a really good agreement with American Onsite about we would clean the porta potties if they would just dump them. So as of currently, the campers at Camp Hope clean the porta potties, and American Onsite comes out and dumps them. So we had all this trash bagged up and taken out from all of the camp last night for moving tents, and a young woman came through last night, slid open all the bags and lit our dumpster on fire. So we are now today cleaning up her mess so that we don't get blamed for it for the rest of the community. Garbage at the camp is there's 468 people here. Everything that they use has to be disposable. We have no access to water, we have no access to cleaning things, we have no access to electricity, so it's all disposable. And we put it in garbage containers, and most people think that the homeless people just came and throw their stuff everywhere. That is not the case. I left here last night at 8 p.m. and this was clean, everything was bagged, and then somebody comes in, rips open their bags, and again we're doing it all over. So we just continuously clean up, house people's messes who think it's funny to harass these folks. The city of Spokane is paying for the dumpsters. So we want to make sure that it stays clean around them. And we get blamed for all of the trash in the neighborhood. So if it becomes windy, it'll blow this trash over there, and then we will have to go pick it up again. So we figured we'd just get it done now and not get blamed for it tomorrow.
I remember when the camp started, I filmed the initial setup of the camp, and there may have been, I don't know, a dozen tents and 20 residents, and then it got up to, I think you said 68. Did you ever, in your wildest imaginations back in December, think that come June there'd be 500 people camped on that property?
No, Maurice, here's why. Collectively, people experience homelessness have never worked together. Because when you're in survival mode, it is absolutely impossible to focus on doing more than what's needed to survive. So homelessness is very selfish, and that is because our brain pops into survival mode, and it is merely keeping you alive. Where are you going to sleep tonight? Where are you going to eat today? Are you going to be safe? Those are basic needs, and those need to be, they need to have those first, then to be able to move on to something else. And when people outside and unsheltered, even living in 20 of them under a bridge, they're not collectively working together. Camp Hope is collectively working together. Is it perfect? No. And they're still learning how to do that because their basic needs aren't all met. But they have right now a place that they're not afraid to stay at and that they're not going to get moved tomorrow. They know they're going to get moved eventually, but today they're safe.
Well, let's talk about basic life in the camp. What have been your biggest challenges overseeing a camp of this size? It is the largest sustained homeless encampment in the state of Washington, maybe in the Pacific Northwest. It's huge.
Yes.
So what kind of challenges have you faced?
First, the sheer amount of people. Just finding space for the people who show up every day with no place to exist. So trying to get RVs and cars, because that's a big population of folks that live unsheltered are people who live in RVs and cars. Getting them onto this small piece of property with all these tents as well. So just the space, first of all. Secondly, we're dealing with people with immense trauma, all trying to coexist together, and we're doing this with no funding at all. There is not funding to have security and employees and peer support. We don't have any money for that. So we had to be able to teach the camp to pick up the slack from what we couldn't do. We still support the camp. We've taught them how to create government. They have their own security team. We don't, at Jules Helping Hands, have a staff member that stays on site. We don't even have a staff member that is on site for half of the day. We just come in and out of the camp and talk regularly with the campers there. The city has given us 2 security guards 24 hours a day, but they're not allowed to engage with our clients.
Knowing I'm building a documentary about Camp Hope, people frequently ask me to describe or explain the camp. I tell them that this isn't Camp Spalding run by the Presbyterians. This is a mess, a homeless camp created ad hoc out of necessity and run primarily by the residents who came to the camp due to a lack of options, deeply traumatized, and trying to build some meaningful sense of community, safety, stability, and yes, hope. A fragile hope created by the fact that someone cared enough about them to create a safe place for them to exist until they could find something better. For the more than 600 residents of Camp Hope, daily life and hope are a work in progress.
And this is the way to where I'm staying, one of the trails in the camp sites that it'll trail you right to my front door. My neighbors range from all kinds of people. I love them. I have great neighbors. For being a homeless person, this is awesome. I mean, my name is Teresa Jo Jones. You're viewing my place where I live in Camp Hope that Jules runs, and there's Ken and Jules, and there are 2 people that have a fight in them, because when people have quit fighting, they keep fighting. So it's kind of nice, you know, like a lot of us gave up where she won't let us. You know, she forces herself out, well then we have to get up. But I just want to thank them for, I've been 20 years trying to find a place to live, and this is the first sign, as much as it hasn't really happened yet. I mean, it's happening, I have a tent, but she's talking about housing, like where toiletry is running and water, and which is exciting. I hope to see that she sees what she really was trying to get. Because I hope I get to be one of those patrons that get that spot, you know.
As a documentary filmmaker, I'm often asked why I don't feature more individuals experiencing homelessness in my documentaries. First, I do include them. But not everyone wants to be featured for reasons as deep as fleeing domestic violence, or not wanting their family to know they're living in a homeless camp, and just their own personal privacy. which they already have so little of. So, I feel genuinely honored when someone experiencing homelessness is willing to open up their life to the camera and tell their story. Let's talk a little bit about some of the people in the camp. I just interviewed Jeff and Joanne. They have an amazing story, but there are a lot of amazing stories.
There is.
In the camp. So just talk a little bit about some of the amazing folks that you've encountered as a result of the camp.
Well, Jeff and Joanne, I found at the camp. Well, I found before then, but they came to the camp, and Joanne is needing medical care. And we've watched her progress through this. And through that process, we were able to secure some transitional housing for both of them. And they took their beautiful little home that they'd created there and gave it to another couple who is currently staying there and trying to get on their track.
I'm officially being cancer. My MRI, where they took the tumor out, it's growing back really healthily. But not only is the chemo radiation stopping the growth of the cancer, it's actually depleting it. In the fact that it's breaking down the cells.
Nice.
And depleting them. I know, I'm so happy. Like, I'm just freaking excited today.
That is so amazing.
What you think?
Looking good.
It's him.
Looking it is.
Yeah, I just want to build my own tiny home.
I mean, yes, I believe in medicine and stuff. You know, radiation works really well, and chemo's obviously working, but at the same time.
Yeah.
Yep.
All praise and glory.
That's right. Coming about the dishes.
Well, I'd give you a hug, but I'm just getting over COVID, so I don't want to get anywhere near you.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Jared.
Jeff.
Danny Taylor helped set up the camp back in December of 2021 and has been the live-in camp overseer from day one. Danny's had his own struggles, including homelessness, that have helped him understand how to work with the residents of Camp Hope.
Do security, try to keep everybody to behave, keep their areas clean, get people what they need. Sometimes it's little stuff, sometimes it's bigger stuff. We just try to help each other out. Be a family, be a community, take care of each other. And my story is, I'm from the Midwest, Ohio, grew up, came out here to visit, got in trouble, went to prison, got sent to Spokane, I'd never been here. I was working, but couldn't find a place to live. Was living at Clark Park, making $4,000 a month, still couldn't find a house. And then I got introduced to the showers that Jules runs, and me and my girl started going there, befriended Ken, who in turn introduced us to Jules, and we were living in one of her houses, and then started working for Jules, helping her out, doing showers and other things around the community and meeting people and outreach, and I don't know, just thought the city here treated their homeless really bad. Didn't do enough to help them. And then Jules talked about a protest downtown, and at 4 a.m. on December 8th, we unloaded pallets down there, and I think we had like 35 people, and boy, I think we were doing something then. And then we came out here this lot, and over the winter it slowly grew, and now it's, I never thought it'd be this. Oh, there's a lot of good people here who work hard and who want more, and well, everybody tries to take care of each other. Come together when we need to. Yeah, people have issues, there's mental issues, drug issues. Hell, back lives people can't escape from that always follow them. But everybody deserves a safe place to be, and that's what I try to give everybody. Yeah, when we first started, it was just, the 35 people was, we're really making a statement. And yeah, we came out here like it was just, hey, everybody was scattered, you could do your own little thing, you had your privacy. Now we're at almost, 600 people on one block, and everybody's on top of each other, and yeah, it gets, be a pain in the ass sometimes, and with cars and trailers, and people are building stuff though, making it their own little section, their own little spot, trying to live comfortable, and It's nice. It's way different than I thought. But and we've got a lot of help from DOT and a lot of the organizations and just the community outreach coming in to help. And people coming together, building a team. We have people do sanitation and community distribution and security and clean up the trash in the streets, and it's our own little city, our own little town, Camp Hope.
I met Caleb James Lastar while he was helping clean up around the camp dumpsters. For me, that's always a sign of someone pitching in and taking ownership, and a good sign of someone I should talk to.
Caleb James Lastar. I'm a Blackfeet from Browning, Montana. I came here 3 years ago. I entered the Spokane Dream Center Men's Discipleship, was the reason I came over here. I did a year in the discipleship, which is a Bible treatment program. Basically, they just transform your mind by the renewing of His Word. It changed my heart. I did a year in the Dream Centers. I did a year in their transition program, and then I got pretty comfortable. I got a lot of money in my pocket, got a nice car, and I said, all right, God, I think I got it from here. And yeah, about a year later, here I am. And so this is where it's gotten me, kind of wanting to do my own thing, thinking I know what's best for me. I got an RV from a job that I got, and it didn't have no registration, so the only place I could park it was here. And I just brought it down here, think I'm only gonna be here like a week maybe, so I get it registered. And turned into 3 months. Absolutely, I have a van right now that I need to, I have a 2004 Windstar, also from the job that I did. And I just need to get it running, get gas, and head over to Missoula. I get home and be home to my 2 beautiful daughters that are waiting. So yeah, I need to get home. This is just dragged out way longer, and I just kind of, yeah, I don't know, idle time, man. Idle time is devil's playground. And, I'm not working, I'm not busy. I'll find something to fill the spaces, But I am a family man. I am a father at heart, I got two beautiful baby girls that, melted me to pieces, so that's where I need to be. I don't fit in here.
Another camp resident who caught my attention by always volunteering and helping make the camp better is Lee. At least I thought his name was Lee because that's what everyone called him. But his real name is Kele'i, and he's from Hawaii.
Kele'i Shea Pollard is my full name. So I was born in Hawaii, live in California, but I've lived here for many years as well. So, well, I've seen it. I've lived here for 3 years about, and I just saw it about 2 months in after it was here, and I just decided to join because I'm always used to helping out, just randomly anyway, over the city, picking up trash, stuff like that. But I've been here probably 6 months, feels like. I believe it's about to end next month. August 1st is what they said. August 14th, there'll be a new shelter opening up supposedly, which, how I think about that, I think that's a good decision, but there is a lot of shelters around, so they've also, I've heard anyway, proposed tiny homes too, which is, I'm wanting to know myself if it's going to happen here or not, but I don't know, it's not a bad idea, I guess. I've been homeless on the streets for about 3 years, solid, so. I had actually lived in Alabama, and I was on my way to Tucson, Arizona, with my mom actually, and it was really hard finding a place to settle down there actually, so we ended up renting a motel, and the next thing I just kind of had a little argument, and I just had to come here, which I've lived here before. I was gone for 5 or 7 years, but it's kind of random really, but I just had to come here, so just kind of how I ended up back up here anyway. No, I can't say I've really ever had a place of my own actually. Maybe one time years ago, but as an adult, really, no. I've always kind of either lived with my mom or lived, within my first relationship with a long relationship of 12 and a half, 14 years. So I lived in their dad's house, so or our dad's house. Well, it's a tough point in my life right now too, especially with the girl that I've met. But realistically, I mean, I'm not disabled. I'm homeless. I want to have a house, so it's really tough. Plans after this, if this place does randomly close and there is no shelter, say, I mean, would I even go to the shelter too? I'm not sure. I'm not sure really. You know, it's a point of my life too where it's scary right at the moment too, because I don't know what to do. You know, it's hard for me to keep a job too, so I don't know. It scares me. I don't want to live like this for the rest of my life. No, that's for sure.
So, how long have you been homeless?
Technically for about a year, but we've been here at Camp Hope for about, what, 2-3 months then? Yeah, 2-3 months.
Okay. Where were you before you came here?
I was staying with my sister, but because of Melanie and his arguing, we ended up getting kicked out by the owner of her complex.
So how are you going to get out of here? What's your plan moving forward? And have you come up with one yet?
Oh yeah, we just run out of gas before we're able to pull it through. Or the battery ends up dying in my PT Cruiser. SNAP to get housing assessment done. And then go from there.
Meet Gina. Gina has terminal breast cancer and lives at Camp Hope. She wanted to tell her story, but was shy about doing an on-camera interview. So this is Gina in her own words and voice.
I've been here at Jules Camp Hope since the end of January. My mom said get out and never to come back. Never see her again. She said that I frightened her, and she's 82. She's getting really old, going through that dementia. I was taking care of her, and I was just going through cancer myself, going through chemo every 3 weeks for a year and a half. And I was still taking care of my mom. I'm gonna miss her when she's gone. I won't even know when she passes away. She told me to get out, that she's selling the house. She's been prepping me to take the house, and now she's gonna sell the house. I was planning on living in that house until the day I died, and now I'm out here. I'm 52 now. When I was going through chemo, I had breast cancer. They thought I was at stage 2, and they were killing me with the chemo a year and a half. I said, stop, just take it off. Take it off. So they took it off, but I still had to be on chemo pills for 10 years. And I stopped treatment when I came out here because it was too painful. I have been, since January, when I came by here, I was driving to Mexico. When she kicked me out, I said, screw it, I'm going to Mexico and just find a little plot of sand by the ocean. And I was just gonna finish off my cancer there and just disappear. And I had to stop down here to repack my car so I could travel. And I looked at, there's a bunch of tents. I said, wow, I have a tent. I could just repack my car, sit in the tent. I woke up to 6 inches of snow. And I wasn't prepared for the snow in that tent. So they told me how to survive the snow, and I just have been here ever since, trying to leave, trying to figure out what I'm going to do, where I'm going to go. Since I've been out here, since January, I came out here, I was a size 13, which is probably 150 pounds. And now I'm a size 4, which is about 110. I've done nothing but lose weight. I've never been this thin. not even when it was going through chemo. So I feel like I'm gonna die here. And that's okay with me. I'm okay with it. I'm ready. I have nothing to look forward to.
This is the Mayukwayuka refugee camp, established in Zambia in 1966 for refugees fleeing Angola's civil war. It's one of the largest refugee settlements in Africa, now some 56 years old, with a population of some 15,000 residents. The camp's history illustrates how temporary encampments can become permanent fixtures when there's no exit plan. Camp Hope was never intended or created to be a permanent homeless encampment. But with more than 600 residents, how do you discover what each person needs in order to move ahead with any personal plan to exit homelessness? Jules Helping Hands, the camp organizer and overseer, decided to do something that doesn't happen very often in the homeless community. They decided to ask the residents what they wanted and what they needed. On Tuesday and Wednesday, July 5th and 6th, a team of volunteers with Jules Helping Hands conducted 600 individual assessments. Residents were asked a series of questions about the length and cause of their homelessness, their immediate needs and struggles, and their plan for moving forward.
You want to watch us do an assessment and then you can pick up some. So what we're doing is you'll take some tape, and Kenny has all the tape. All the assessments that you do, you're going to match the number on your assessment to the number on the tent.
When asked why are you homeless, 12% said they were homeless due to an eviction. 48% said loss of income. 77% said it was due to a family conflict, including foster care. And 39% cited a criminal history. When asked, what do you need? All but two, nearly 100%, said they needed their identification restored. Without ID, you can't access housing, employment, or any official services. 47% said they had a phone, which suggests that 53% don't. Without a phone, you can't communicate with a caseworker, your doctor, your employer, and no one can find you. And 86% said they needed help with laundry. If you and I couldn't do laundry or take a shower for a month, we'd probably look like residents of Camp Hope too.
It's okay. Have you ever participated in the needle exchange?
Finally, when asked about their plan moving forward, only 51 out of 600 residents said they would go to a shelter. But all 600 residents said they would accept a pallet shelter or tiny house if offered. And only 43% said they had a caseworker to help advocate for them and guide them through the maze of things they need to exit homelessness. The data collected by the assessments created a stunning portrait of people experiencing homelessness who've fallen through the cracks of homeless services, many more than once. 90% of those assessed said they'd gone through previous assessments by caseworkers only to be lost by the system and never followed up on. Most expressed a clear desire to move forward toward permanent housing, but with no clear path for how to make it happen. In order to offer immediate follow-up and prevent residents from falling through yet another crack in homeless services, 2 days of collecting assessments were followed by a 2-day resource fair with on-site homeless service providers who could help residents work through the issues they revealed in their assessments. Camp residents could access things ranging from free showers to free phones, shelter information, addiction and mental health treatment, and even register to vote.
We're from the League of Women Voters of Spokane area. We're here to register voters or to help voters who are already registered to vote make sure that they have their correct address. So for those that are here at Camp Hope who want to vote, we are helping them get that going. And so local elections are just as important as big national ones, and a lot of people here can appreciate that there's a lot on the line this election. So that's what we're out here doing, because everybody matters and we all do better when we all do better. So we're here to get voters registered, and
every vote counts.
Every vote counts.
Counts and matters.
Yep.
Hi, I'm Destiny from Guardians, and I'm just here to help people, assist them to know of the new shelter that we're going to have opening in August. There'll be showers and meals, laundry assistance. We do have an open shelter now at Cannon 527 South Cannon Street, and we also do laundry, food, and we're compassionate people. We're just out here to help people and try to get them to where they need to be.
Johnny Saldana. I'm with Pioneer Human Services, the RMP program, Recovery Navigator program, and we're located on 130 Arthur Street on 2nd. And we work with our clients in helping them overcome any barriers. If they have frequent contact with law enforcement, that is one qualification. So we are here at Camp Hope because we have a lot of clients that are not able to make it there to the resource center. So we came and set up here in hopes to serve them better here. We're here to serve them and help them overcome any kind of barriers that they're facing in their recovery, you know, and trying to get ahead and out of the situations that they're in.
Yeah, my name is Bud Noakes, and I work for Ideal Option. We're a medically assisted treatment program.
Hi, Bobby.
We are here to get the word out. People, opiate addictions, fentanyl, amphetamines, alcohol. So the reason that we're down here is because we have 4 clinics, but for some reason or another, the people either can't get to us, don't want to try and get out to us, so we bring our services to them. I'm actually down here every Tuesday and talking to people and, you know, just getting word out that we're medically assisted treatment and, you know, we're going to be by your side the whole way.
I have been homeless off and on I could say my entire adult life, but the last little bit I've been homeless for 2 months. I moved from Virginia to Spokane to be with a friend of mine, and now I got up here April the 28th. By the 3rd of May, I had a job, and even though I had a job, I still wasn't able to make enough to find a place to stay. So, you know, I kept at it, kept persevering, kept talking with Julie, kept talking with Ken, and eventually a room in one of their houses, a clean living house, opened up, and I agreed to take it. And now I am out of that situation, but the struggle for being homeless is real. It's not an easy situation. A lot of people are not out here because of choice. Maybe they don't make enough to have an apartment. Maybe they have, you know, have things on their credit score that prevent them from getting into an apartment. There's different situations for different people. Just because we are homeless does not mean that we want to look that way, does not mean that we want to dress that way, feel that way. We are human beings first and foremost. We deserve the dignity of being a human being. Before you look at us and say, oh, you're homeless, remember that we're human first.
Spokane homeless policymakers perform an annual homeless play that I've described as our annual Greek homeless tragedy. It's a 2-act play featuring political anti-heroes whose lack of political will combines annually with their lack of understanding of poverty and homelessness to create a Greek tragedy complete with a chorus of homeless advocates warning policymakers of the dire consequences that lie ahead for both them and the homeless as a result of their failure to act. Act 1 unfolds annually in the late fall and early winter months when temperatures plunge below freezing with insufficient shelter space where the unsheltered homeless can find warmth and refuge. Act 2 of this annual play unfolds every summer when temperatures rise into the 90s or above with nowhere for the unsheltered homeless to go to escape the heat. In the summer of 2022, as temperatures rose into triple digits, the city administration urged those needing to escape the sweltering heat to go to a local library to cool off. For the 623 residents of Camp Hope, that would have meant walking a mile to the Liberty Park Library and leaving their personal property unattended at the camp. It was an unrealistic plan created by upper middle class policymakers for people living in abject poverty and homelessness. The organizers and overseers of Camp Hope had a more practical idea: set up a cooling tent on WashDOT property across the street from the camp. And that's what community volunteers, including a local construction crew, pitched in to make happen. The idea of the cooling tent was so practical, reasonable, and effective that the Spokane City Council unanimously approved funding to underwrite the cost of operating the cooling center, while community groups pitched in to supply water, ice, and even ice cream.
The cooling tent is the most important thing we're doing right now to keep people alive. There has been no deaths in this camp over this stretch of heat wave, which is so different compared to the 21 last year with the same heat. So this saves lives. I know it has been an issue with the city, but for Jules Helping Hands, once this cooling center was up, it wasn't coming down, and it still isn't coming down now. I hope that the city figures out how we can permit it. I hope that everybody figures out how we can work together to keep it running, but as far as I'm concerned, it's staying up as of now. Yeah, so we sent in a proposal to the City of Spokane and to Commerce, both of which did not fund it fast enough. So Empire Health stepped up and gave us a grant for the full amount so that we could get it going and running. City Council has now allocated money to pay Empire Health back for getting this up and running, because traditionally the government takes too long to do anything, and these folks would have been dead by Monday when they decided to bring it to the attention of everybody else. Everything in it is donating ice, water, Gatorade, food, clothing, staff. The community's really stepping up to make this happen.